As an instructional designer, we may use various decision-making approaches throughout the design process. Regardless of the design framework, we can reflect on how we currently make decisions and even consider other decision-making approaches. Using the ADDIE framework, we can reflect on some key decisions that are typically made by the instructional designer. We are going to use the scenario of designing a professional development course for faculty around copyright and fair use principles and guidelines, and consider what types of decision approaches we may use at each step of the design process. During the analysis phase, we consider the situation presented, identify gaps, and ultimately try to confirm if an instructional intervention is necessary. Decisions are made around recommendations on the intervention, scoping out the instruction, selecting the best way to deliver the type of information needed, identifying overall goals and objectives, and identifying when the training can be offered. For this scenario, we may have extensive experience developing training for faculty, so we have a good understanding of our learners as well as organizational goals and constraints. We may choose to use a heuristic approach for decisions, basing our recommendation on our expertise and experience within the organizational context. We may decide that based on the fact that faculty have limited time to attend in-person training during the week, also this is not required training, but the content will be used extensively and often. So we may choose to have the training as a self-paced, mobile option and make it accessible to as many faculty as possible for when they need it. One of the key deliverables during the design phase is the learning outline, where we indicate timing, teaching and learning strategies, as well as feedback and assessment. The instructional designer will make decisions around how to communicate new information, which activities to integrate, how to promote engagement, and how to give feedback to learners. For our scenario, we know that we are choosing a mobile-first approach to the learning space. Based on our understanding, we know it will influence what and how we can integrate teaching and learning strategies and activities. We may choose to do a cost-benefit analysis related to what we can do effectively in the learning space. For example, because it will be self-paced and mobile, we may want to do smaller, scaffolded modules where the learner can consume new information quicker. Having more modules may take more development time, but it can increase the learner satisfaction and outcomes. During this phase, we are building out the course according to the design. So that may include creating instructional resources, placing the content in a learning management system or website, recording media, etc. We are also doing testing during this phase. So a lot of decisions will happen around quality, usability, and accessibility. A decision-making approach that gives us choices depending on our intermediate decisions and actions may benefit us. For example, an approach that can help us decide if we do this, then we will need to do that may be helpful. Visually, this approach would be represented as a decision tree or matrix. For our scenario, we may decide what type of material we're going to create versus curate for this particular training. Because we are in a mobile environment, we may decide that we are going to record short videos to introduce new material. By doing videos, we may need to make decisions around how to make it fully accessible for learners. We may decide to do various types of techniques, such as audio-only, transcriptions, and even captions, based on our learner demographics, preferences, and our organizational standards. During the implementation phase, instructional designers may support the learning experience by actively troubleshooting and resolving issues related to accessing content or the learning space. Heuristic decision-making approaches would be of great use during this phase, as it allows for quick decisions that are informed by data in the learning space and from our previous experiences. For our scenario, we may prepare for the known and unknown facilitator and learner support challenges as part of our overall design. For example, since the training is self-paced, we may decide to include a frequently asked questions chat in the mobile learning environment, as well as integrate a chatbot that can serve as a facilitation intermediary and resolve any learner challenges in navigating and accessing the content. The evaluation phase is where instructional designers gather information related to effectiveness of the instructional intervention. The task of gathering information includes decisions around which system to use to collect the information and what types of data is needed based on the learning and organizational outcomes. For our training scenario, we can conduct a cost-benefit analysis related to the different ways to collect information from the learning space, including the cost, time, and effort it will take to gather and analyze the data. As an instructional designer, our day is filled with making decisions. Having knowledge of the types of decisions you will make and different decision-making approaches will allow you to make informed choices. These choices will not only affect your work process, but ultimately will impact the learner experience that you have designed.